So this is lesson 224. We'll be talking about transformations of non-functions or enduring understandings that we already have. We're going to be dealing with two different parent graphs that are not functions. But despite this, we'll still be able to shift them left, right, up, and down. We're going to figure that out. So we're going to start with x squared equals y squared, and then we'll move on to x squared plus y squared equals 25. And we're going to not use our graphing calculator. We're going to try to make a table for this equation. And so we've kind of talked about this particular equation a couple of times. We're going to go ahead and rewrite this as y equals plus or minus the square root of x, because this is basically our parabola that opens a different direction. So we can see from this that x cannot be a negative number, but it should be a number I can take the square root of. So we're going to start with 0, and then we will move on to 1, 4, 9, and 16. So those will be the numbers I plug in. And so when I take the square root of 0, I get 0. So 0, 0. When I take the square root of 1, I get both 1 and negative 1. So I end up with these 2 points. When I take the square root of 4, I get 2 and negative 2. Go ahead and finish your table. So it was 4 was my input, 2 and negative 2. Pause the video, finish your table, and then finish the graph on the side. So I've done this, and I've got my things, and this is like a sideways parabola. The textbook refers to it as a sleeping parabola, as we will see later in this lesson. Try to make that, mine's very pointy, curve that out. And so that's what we have is a sideways parabola, which is x equals y squared. So basically it's backwards. And we'll talk more about this function as we continue with different things, but that's what you should have. Let's go ahead and move on to this one. We know that we're going to square two numbers, add them up, and get 25. So this is a little tricky on the x squared plus 25. X squared plus y squared equals 25. And so I'm trying to think of numbers that are squares. And the first thing that pops into my mind is Pythagorean Theorem, because this is kind of like the Pythagorean Theorem where you would have a number like say 3 and then 4 and 5, that triangle, because 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to 5 squared. So 25 equals 16 and 3. So we're looking for 16 and 9, and 16 plus 9 is 25. And so that's one that works. So I'm going to go ahead and write 3, 4 here as my inputs. So 3, 4 is a point on my triangle. 3, 4. So what's another point on my triangle? Another way I could draw this triangle, and I'm just thinking of the 3, 4, 5 triangle. So I have 3, 4, and 5, where my vertical is 4 and my horizontal is 3, so I could switch these. This 4 and 3 is also on my triangle. Another one that's on the triangle is 0 and 5, and 5 and 0. So with that in mind, try to come up with some negative numbers that might work, because what's negative numbers squared? So like I could have negative 3 and positive 4, because when I square that I'm going to still get 9 and I'm still going to get 4. That's the idea here. So and you should be able to find numbers in every quadrant, numbers on each axis. This is a really tricky thing. These are all going to be 25, but you're just looking for two numbers that I can square up and add 25. Of course 0 and 5 is one of them. So you've got negative 5 and 0 and positive 5 and 0. So those numbers, and then these can be negative. So we got negative 3, positive 4, and negative 4, positive 3. And then we also have negative 3, negative 4, and negative 4, negative 3. And then we also would have positive 3, 4, and 4, and negative 4, and positive 4, and negative 3. And so what is that? Well, it turns out it's a collection of dots, and it is a circle. Okay, and so this is not simple, and I've actually jumped ahead and do B. And so there's more points we can add with that, positives and negatives, etc., etc. And it's not an easy thing, the circle idea. They used 25 because they hoped you would think of the 3, 4, 5 triangle there and what to do with that. But that is the basic idea of your two non-functions. And so with that in mind, I just want you to think about these and what you could do. What's happening with this particular problem is this is a circle with a radius of 3. And we have a bunch of stuff going on. And then we have our parabola. So these are two non-functions. Last year in Math 2, there was a chapter on conic sections, which you did not do. And it would have prepared you a little bit better for this lesson. So just kind of keep that in mind with this one. Let me just show you quickly with Desmos what's going on. And so with Desmos, and let me pause for just a second. So I kind of move the window over it. I don't know what happens when I do that in the middle of the video, but either way. So we've got x equals y squared, as I mentioned before, and let me move that. Let me actually just hit the home button. And so it looks like this. We've got our parabola there. And so that's what x equals y squared looks like, which is good because that's what we basically got. I'm hitting the home button again. Turn this one off. The other one we had was x squared plus y squared equals 25. And so then we see we can have the circle of 5. So going back to this one, turning the circle off for a minute. And as you recall, we could turn this into a function, a table for us, and it doesn't look like it's going to settings. No, it won't do the function, since it's not a table, it won't do a table for me. But I can make my own table. No, I can't really. Never mind. Not worth it. So these two are both very confusing. And don't feel bad if you were confused by them, but think about what would happen if this is what we will be discussing tomorrow if we were going to shift it, etc. So you'll spend the rest of the lesson today working through the homework. And you should be fine with everything there. Just be careful. Just so you know, x squared plus y squared equals any number, like say 49, will give me a circle. This one is a circle with a radius of 7. If I had x squared plus 81, now my radius is 9. X squared plus y squared equals 100. My radius is now 10. See how it's out here at negative 10. It's kind of off your screen, so you can't really see what's going on here. And so that's all that's doing, and that's the dilation factors changing the radius. So just so you know what's going on. I will talk with you more about this tomorrow. I'm going to come back in another video with some helpful homework hints. Thanks so much. Bye.